So you've learned about EFT tapping and all of the amazing benefits, how it works, but now you're like, okay, I know the points, but what do I do with them? Stick around, I'm gonna teach you how to use these to create your own sequence at home. Hi, my name is Liz, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I am a certified EFT practitioner with a background in holistic nutrition, and my job is to help you identify limiting subconscious beliefs or blocks that are causing you to self-sabotage so you can finally kick that habit and step into your full potential. Okay, so I did do a previous video where I explained where the points were and a little bit about how tapping even works. So if you haven't watched that, please go back and do so. But in this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to apply those points so that you can create your own tapping sequences at home to work on what is relevant to you personally. I do think though that one of the best ways to actually learn this technique is to practice it, to give it a go yourself. So at the end of this video, I will be taking us through a very quickie tapping session on stress because I feel like who isn't dealing with stress these days? So stay tuned for that. So the first thing that we do whenever we're starting a tapping session is identify what it is that we want to work on. And in tapping, we generally start with something negative or something bad. I hate to use those terms because it just puts a bad name on all of them. All feelings are good feelings. They're there for a reason, but you know what I mean. The ones that bring up the uncomfortable sensations, the uncomfortable feelings, those are generally what we're working on with tapping. And contrary to popular belief, they do not further ingrain these negative thought patterns or negative emotions, and they actually help your body process them so that you can release them. This is maybe one of the most common misconceptions or fears I hear people say when they're talking about tapping is I don't want to tap and say how much I feel like I'm a miserable failure because I don't want my brain to think that that's true. But don't worry, tapping will actually help you break that kind of limiting and negative thought pattern so that you can replace it with something that you would prefer, something more positive. I believe it was Louise Hay that first said, in order to clean a house, you have to be willing to look at the dirt. And that is exactly what tapping is. We're looking at the dirt so we can remove it, so we can have a clean house. All of that simply to say, what we resist persists. You could say all of the positive affirmations that you want. You can say them till you're blue in the face. But if your subconscious mind doesn't believe that you can have them, doesn't believe you can have the thing that you want, doesn't believe that what you're saying is true, then they're not going to work. We have to clear out that old subconscious programming with tapping to replace it with that positive affirmation. When we're identifying what we want to work on, it can be a variety of things. It can be a very specific event. Let's say something happened to me today that was very upsetting and I just kind of want to tap on it to give my body some relief in the moment. Maybe it's something that happened to me a long time ago, an old trauma, an old upsetting event. And when I recall this event, I'm still having a physical reaction to it. That is an indication that your body actually didn't process it at the time and it is still living within your body. Tapping works great in this type of situation to help clear those things out. So maybe you're working on a past event with tapping so that it's no longer upsetting to you now. Maybe it's an emotion you want to work on. Maybe you have a lot of anxiety or a lot of anger you would like to process. Whatever it is that you choose to work on or choose to focus on, we want to be as specific as possible. Tapping works best when we really hone in on the details of what we're working on. So for example, if I'm working on anger or anxiety, that is a pretty broad umbrella. I'm going to try to hone it in a little bit more to pick something specific that is making me feel that way. So if I'm feeling anxious, what is it specifically that might be making me feel anxious? Now, I know there could be many things. Try to pick one to start and work on that and then work your way through all of the other things. So if it's money that's making me anxious, I'm going to go even more specific than that. And I'm going to think, okay, when was the last time that I felt really anxious about money? Maybe it was when I opened a bank account and the money that I was hoping was there wasn't there. Maybe I received an unexpected bill in the mail. So you get kind of what I'm saying. We're looking for something specific that can represent that as a whole, and we're going to start chipping away at these bigger umbrella topics slowly. I know it might feel frustrating to go that slow, but I promise you this is what works best for the nervous system, and this is what will have the most long-lasting effect overall. We're going to chip away at these things with time, but you will make more progress in the long run than if you just try to tap on anxiety as a whole, because you're really not getting at the root of what's making you feel anxious. Okay, so now that you've identified this specific thing, we're just gonna tune into that moment or that feeling, and we're gonna ask ourselves, how intense is it? Bonus points if you're tuning into the body, because things live in our body. We can't think our way out of our problems. So really notice in the body where this emotion or this event is living. So if I'm recalling an event, I will probably be asking myself what emotion it's making me feel to remember this thing now. Not necessarily what I was feeling back then. What am I feeling right now when I remember it? And where does that live in my body? So is it a fluttering in my chest, a tightness in my throat, a pit in my stomach? And then I'm going to rate the intensity of that sensation on a scale of 0 to 10, where 10 is the most intense. And I'm going to encourage you not to skip this step, okay? Because with tapping, we have a phenomenon where we can easily forget where we started. It helps us track progress to see where we're actually moving, in what direction, when we're tapping and we're progressing through something. So if something starts as an 8 and you do a few rounds of tapping and you get it down to a 2, but you've written it down or you've made mental note, you'll be able to see that you've made progress with tapping. But it's very easy for us to say, oh, when we get to that 2, right? To say, oh, I wasn't that stressed about that thing to begin with. Your brain immediately forgets where you started. So it's just a really good indicator of progress and also helps encourage you to keep going. I personally like to write this all down because it's really interesting for me to reflect back on what I was tapping on 6 months ago to see truly how far I've come in this practice. Okay, so we have identified the event or the emotion that we want to work on. We've gotten really specific about what in that umbrella is triggering us right now, and we've identified where it lives in the body, what physical sensations we're having, and we've rated them in intensity. So now we're ready to get started. In tapping, we always start at the side of the hand, and either side of the hand is fine. When you're going in tapping, you can tap on either side of the body or both sides when applicable. It doesn't matter as long as you're tapping. So starting at the side of the hand, we're gonna do what is called a setup statement. And basically what a setup statement is the problem followed by some sort of statement of acceptance. So what does that look like exactly? Let's use the example I gave earlier about anxiety around money, and the specific event we're working on is an unexpected bill in the mail. A setup statement might sound something like, even though I received this bill in the mail and I cannot believe how much it's for, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to pay that this month. I'm not sure where the money is going to come from, and I'm feeling so anxious about it. I feel this anxiety like a fluttering in my chest. It's so uncomfortable. I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Now, if the love and accept myself is too much, like it just doesn't feel true or real to you, you can always dial it back or use whatever language does feel comfortable to you. But the key is that we're turning it around to like, I accept where I am right now, or I am open to accepting where I am right now if that other language just feels too strong for you to start with. So for the setup statement, we're generally staying on the side of the hand and repeating that statement about 3 times. You can use the exact same words and literally just repeat the setup statement 3 times, or you can vary it up a little bit as long as we're staying focused on the specific event in mind. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take that event through the rounds of tapping, so through all the other points. So as a reminder, we have the top of the head, the eyebrow, side of eye, under nose, under mouth, collarbone point, underarm, and I also like to do the wrists. If you want a more detailed, longer explanation, check out the other video. One of the biggest roadblocks I see people having when it comes to tapping is people get really caught up in what to say. And I just want to reassure you that the words are really not what's important here. What is more important when tapping is that we're really tuned into our emotions and our physical experience. And the words are really just there to help keep your brain focused on what it is you're working on. I know we aren't all familiar with really being present in our bodies, and for some this might be the hardest part, but just use your words to describe what's going on. So whether or not that is describing what you're seeing in your mind that's causing you to be upset, so maybe it's, you're physically picturing the bill in your hands, or you're remembering a sentence that someone said to you, or if you're just describing the physical sensations, your body will know what to do as long as you're tuned in and tapping at the same time. Another thing I want to mention is that tapping is always most effective when you're tapping in your own words. So there are lots of pre-scripted videos out there on YouTube or just audios, and I think that they're great. I create some myself. They definitely have a place and a purpose. But when we really want to clear our own personal history, it's better to tap in our own words. So whether that's with a practitioner or at home, which is why I'm teaching you this sequence right now, because those pre-made scripts are very generalized. They have to be, because the tapping practitioner that's creating them doesn't know who's watching them. So they need to kind of stay high level. So when we tap on something general, we have kind of a short-term benefit window. So it's not to say that these pre-scripted tapping sequences aren't helpful. They will definitely downregulate your nervous system in the moment and help your body feel more relaxed and calm. But the longer-term results, the real benefit of tapping, you'll see when we get really specific and you're working on your specific problems. So how I like to use these kind of pre-made tapping scripts is as like a starting jumping off point. So what I would recommend you do in any tapping sequence is if you're going through and something pops up, so you're tapping on my anxiety and all of a sudden your brain goes, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about this or this or this. Write those events down on a piece of paper, and then you can take those events through your own sequence in your own time. And this is truly how we work to reprogram the subconscious mind and to reprogram the nervous system. So how long do we tap? You can tap for as long or as little as you want. This is a really intuitive process. There is no right or wrong way to do it when it comes to all these really minute details. So I like to stay with tapping until I feel a release in my body. Now, tapping is a somatic practice, meaning that it is affecting the body. So you will likely notice a shift in energy in the body. That can look like a yawn, a sigh. Sometimes you even have like tummy gurgles or a burp. When you notice things moving physically, if we're staying tuned into our body, you will be able to start to feel those physical shifts. We're not necessarily looking to get the intensity of whatever we're working on to a 0, although that is really desirable and definitely possible. If you get things to around a 3 or under, I would say generally they're cleared. But how I like to establish if something is truly cleared is if I can think about it, remember whatever it is I'm working on, and not have a physical response to it. That really is the key. And once we've had this shift, our subconscious mind is really more open to the more positive affirmations. So this is where we would introduce those positive affirmations into our practice. You may also notice a cognitive shift while you're tapping, which really is just a change in thought patterns. So maybe when you started your tapping session, all you could think about was the problem. You couldn't see any solutions. There was no way out. This was the problem, and it was all consuming. And as you're tapping and you're down-regulating your nervous system and you're relaxing the body, all of a sudden your brain goes, well, what about this? Or what if we tried this? Or maybe that's not exactly true. Maybe this is more true. These are totally normal and are a great example of tapping in practice. Really what's happening here is when we are in an activated state in our nervous system, the part of our brain that does like critical thinking, our prefrontal cortex, actually basically turns off, because we don't need to be problem solving when we're trying to save our lives. We're trying to fight for our lives, run for our lives, if that makes sense. So when we calm the nervous system down and it returns back to a state of calm, those cognitive or critical thinking portions of the brain kind of come back online. So these solutions were always there, but by tapping and calming the body down, we're giving our brain access to them again. Okay, so let's do a practice session. I'm just gonna do 1 round for the negative and 1 round for the positive to kind of keep this brief. It's really just to give you an example of what this might look and sound like, but feel free to pause this video or do as many rounds on the negative as you need to feel a shift before moving to the positive. Also, if I say something to you that doesn't land or doesn't sound right, feel free to change it into your own words, and this is true of any tapping session. Okay, so we're gonna get nice and comfortable in your chair or wherever it is that you are right now. Take a nice deep breath in and out. Okay, and I just want you to notice right now how much stress you're experiencing in your body. And where is that stress living? Is it in your chest, your stomach? What does it feel like? Just take a moment to describe how it feels like to you. Great. And now we're going to rate the intensity of that stress on a scale of 0 to 10, again, where 10 is the most intense. And when you're ready, we're going to start at the side of the hand. Even though I'm feeling so stressed right now, I am open to accepting myself just as I am. Even though there is so much going on in my life right now to be stressed about, and I feel it in my body, I am open to accepting myself even with these feelings. And just one last one. Even though my body is so tense with all of this stress, I acknowledge how I'm feeling, and I give my body permission to relax. Okay, top of the head. All of this stress. Eyebrow. All of this tension. Side of the eye. Acknowledging how my body is feeling right now. Good. Under the eye. I feel it in my body. And feel free to say exactly how you're feeling in your body. Under the nose. I'm just breathing into this sensation right now. Under the mouth. Holding space for myself and all of these emotions and feelings. Collarbone. Knowing right here, right now, in this moment, I am safe to let myself feel. Under the arm, breathing into the tension. Wrist, giving my body permission to release and relax. And we can leave it right here. You don't have to tap on the positive. I certainly don't always do that, but if you'd like to finish this off with some more positive affirmations or positive sentiments, then feel free to continue. And moving back to the top of the head. Noticing that my body feels calmer right now. Eyebrow. Recognizing some of my stress I've caused myself. Side of the eye. Worrying about what hasn't yet happened. Or what happened a long time ago. Under the eye. Acknowledging that this is safe for me to put down now. Under the nose. Feeling calmer and more relaxed in my body. Under the mouth. Breathing deeper into my belly. Collarbone. Feeling grateful that I took this time for myself to help my body feel more relaxed. Under the arm. Ready to go on with my day in a more clear and grounded place. Wrist. And so it is. Great job. Take a deep breath. And that is it. You are tapping. It really is that simple. Now you understand how to use this practice. You can apply tapping to basically anything in your life that is causing you any form of stress or discomfort, remembering to sit with our feelings, to process them so that our body doesn't store them. And I promise you, you'll notice over time that your triggers become less, your anxiety lessens, you'll be more calm and grounded and present. I wish you nothing but the best. If you have any questions for me, please drop them below. I'd love to hear from you. Take care and happy tapping.